Song and I today we're going to cover something called mast cell activation. It's a topic that, if you're like me, you've been hearing more and more about, and it seems mast cell activation. It's probably playing a pretty big role in why so many of our kids are sick these days. So I'm curious for you, Dr. Song, in your practice, are you seeing a lot more kids come in with these serious chronic health issues, and has it changed, since from when you first started being a pediatrician?
Yeah, it has changed dramatically. When I finished my pediatrics residency at UCSF, which is one of the top medical centers in the country, if not the world, and that was back in 2000, and I saw one child with autism in my entire 3-year residency training, right at this quaternary specialty university center. And I was told back then that if I saw a handful of kids with autism in my career, it would be a lot,
Oh,
right? And
wow.
now look at where we are. I
That's
started my
crazy. There's like a
practice in
handful in every class now.
Yes, exactly, exactly. And we know it's such a spectrum, right? But
Yeah.
it's not just a matter of more kids being diagnosed. I mean, when I started my practice in 2004, I started it as a holistic integrative practice, that was just 4 years after graduating, and it just exploded, with kids on the spectrum needing more help, needing more biomedical help. And way back then, it was called, we were Dan doctors, right? Defeat
Oh,
autism
yeah.
now.
Yeah.
That's we're no longer allowed to use that term. So we are use a biomedical approach or a functional medicine approach to kids with autism. But from there, it just continued to explode with kids with all sorts of chronic illnesses that, residency doesn't really prepare you for, because we like to think that most of our kids are healthy, but, we have this slow creep. And at this point now, at least 50% of all children have some sort of a chronic diagnosis. And it can range from,
Wow.
eczema and asthma to anxiety to autism and ADHD. And I'm seeing so many more kids with autoimmune illnesses, rheumatoid arthritis, Hashimoto's in young kids, Crohn's disease, celiac disease. And at the trajectory that we're going, we think that by 2025, which is, I mean,
Not
my
that
gosh,
long
that's like
away.
6 years away, right? That we're projecting that at least 8 in 10 kids will have some sort of a chronic condition. Now, some of these conditions are going to be relatively, quote, mild. Some of them are going to be more severe and devastating, but bottom line, they're chronic. I mean, these are not just get a cold or a flu and it goes away. These are things that kids have to live with. And we know that when you have one chronic condition and one autoimmune illness, and eczema and asthma are now considered autoimmune phenomena, when you have one autoimmune reaction or illness, chances are much higher that you're going to develop a second or a third or a fourth autoimmune illness. So, and you said it, right? In our kids' classrooms, I mean, what child doesn't have sensory issues or behavioral problems or attention problems or autism, whatever, even if they haven't been diagnosed? I mean, I sit in my daughter is entering fourth grade. My son is going to enter third grade this fall. And from the time they started kindergarten, I sit in the class and I volunteer, and you just notice how many kids have so much trouble being in their bodies, right? And being still and being comfortable in their skin, right? I mean, these kids are just they're not feeling well, but they don't even realize it because it's been like this their whole life. And so, and what kid, when I go on field trips now, we're carrying bags of EpiPens and inhalers
Oh,
and
wow.
emergency medications. So the number is skyrocketing. Just look at food allergies, right? True anaphylactic food allergies. So we have now, and new parents now are coming to expect that this is the quote new normal, as a lot of people say. But these are maybe common conditions, but these are not normal, right? These are not normal for our kids. So it's really important that dads like you who have podcasts and functional medicine practitioners and, people who are, in the trenches really seeing these kids and helping to really get the word out that these are not okay, that we can actually reverse and heal these autoimmune and chronic conditions, and that it's possible. We need to get that word out because we need to step back to a time where we realize that kids shouldn't be sick. Right? The expectation, the normal should be that our kids are thriving and healthy, right?
Yeah. I think it's worth repeating there. So, in just over 5 years, 80% of our kids are going to have some sort of chronic issue that they have to deal with. That is just absolutely insane and like really like heart aching, really.
Yeah, it is. It is. And we should be, we should be demanding that, medicine changes. We should be demanding that our food policies change. We should be demanding that the government has better controls on, what goes into our bodies and on our skin, and it really will take that uprising, and it's starting, but it's just not fast enough for our kids right now. So,
Yeah.
it's really going to be up to parents like us and practitioners to work with our kids and get them better kind of one step at a time and hopefully continue to contribute to a larger movement.
Yeah. And it's unfortunate though. It seems like the powers that be, as far as the free flow of information, is sort of trying to put a damper and a
It,
footstep on our progress. Is where
it's
Facebook and
changing.
Google
Yep.
and all they're changing.
Yep. And Pinterest and all the
Yeah.
changing algorithms, it's changing, but you know what? I think that the truth can't be held down for long. So
Yeah. It got here without the internet, so maybe it can continue to, progress. I know parents 20, 30 years ago who were doing the gluten-free, casein-free diet for their kid with autism, and that
that's
was
right.
like they were going to the library and picking out these really thick old books and figuring out how to do it.
That's
I
right.
can't
That's
even
right.
imagine like doing that now.
Well, now you have such amazing resources online. I mean, it's crazy to think how can parents. I mean, on the one hand, it's this incredible opportunity for parents to learn so much about how to, be their children's best advocates and really explore different health options and treatment options, and connect with community, right? Because back then, if you were a parent of a child with autism or a child with rheumatoid arthritis or a child with anxiety, you felt alone, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you just felt like there was nobody else going through what you were going through, and maybe there weren't really any other parents going through the same thing in your local community. But now we have this online community that can really be such a great support. On the other hand, I think there's so few pediatric practitioners that can really help guide parents. And so, it is kind of the Wild West a lot of times where you feel
Yeah.
like you don't want to feel like you're experimenting on your child. And so that's, my mission is to really help educate parents and practitioners on what's effective, what's safe, what has some science behind it, what maybe doesn't have a lot of science yet, but has some anecdotal evidence that it can be helpful and has a very low side effect profile, and then hopefully teach more practitioners to be able to do this and help their kids in their local communities.
Yeah. Yeah, we definitely need more pediatricians. I know in the St. Louis area, including the surrounding little municipalities, there's one integrative doc.
Yeah.
And of course she has a long waiting list.
Yes.
But
Yes.
yeah, so we need more guys. If you're a doctor out there or in med school, there's a good thriving
Yes.
area to go
In med
into.
school, right? Whether you are in medical residency, if you're an osteopathic school, residency, naturopathic school residency, an acupuncturist, chiropractor. I mean, we need more practitioners who really can be knowledgeable and trained in the science behind why functional medicine and integrative medicine is so important. I mean, that is going to be the key to our kids' future health.